we.
Thank you.
Started up on his 6 when he pulled through the clouds, and then I moved in above him.
Well, if you were directly above him, how could you see him?
Because I was inverted.
You know that iconic scene from Top Gun, and that line right there, it helped shape the next guest's book. Michelle Mace Curran is a former U.S. Air Force fighter pilot. She is only the second woman in history to serve as the lead solo pilot for the elite show team, the Thunderbirds. Her new book is called The Flipside: How to Invert Your Perspective and Turn Fear into Your Superpower. I love that. It shares lessons learned in the cockpit and beyond. Michelle Curran joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you for joining us. So let's start with that iconic line from Top Gun, because I was inverted. How did that line shape this book?
Yeah, I really appreciate that Top Gun made that such a common pop culture reference. My role with the Thunderbirds being the lead solo, I got to fly upside down, inverted, more than anyone else on the team. So much so that the number 5 on the side of my jet was painted upside down. So when I would go past inverted in front of the crowd, it was right side up. And it is an absolutely insane perspective to be flying upside down, 100 feet off the ground, all over the country. And as I put the book together, it became pretty clear that the through line was really about flipping how we see fear, how we see adversity, how we see setbacks, and seeing those as opportunities, and realizing that fear is a common experience for all of us, even people like me, and that it's just a signal, it's a data point, it doesn't have to be the stop sign. And I couldn't resist making the title The Flip Side and playing on this idea of flying inverted because it was such a unique thing I got.
Yeah, it's like
so good.
Face your fears and make hard choices. You talk about the number 5, that even now you can write it upside down yourself. But this, you got me with the first line of the book because you said, I can fly F-16s upside down, but I'm scared of spiders. I thought that was funny. You talk about having imposter syndrome where you doubted your own skills. And I'm wondering how you work through that to get to the other side, because you said we all have inner critics. But rarely do the inner critics give you instructive criticism, and that is so true. So how did you fight through all of that, Michelle? Because you had it bad, you said.
I did. Yeah, that inner voice of doubt can be quite harsh, right? Often our harshest critic. And early in my career, I did not handle it well. I, took it as fact. I really believed that I somehow had snuck in. I wasn't the person cut out for the job.
That you didn't deserve to be there.
Of course, classic imposter syndrome. Everyone else around me knows more than I do. Getting some time and distance from that, I really realized that it is something that every beginner experiences when they're in a high pressure environment with really extreme standards, which flying fighter jets for sure is one of those. And when you couple that, beginner, you're learning, you're making mistakes, tons of pressure, with this inherent lack of belonging that kind of just comes with, there just are not many women in that role. So I did feel like I was under a little bit of a microscope. Those things layered together, perfect scenario. And I realized that it just takes time.
Yes.
Recognizing it for what it is, that it's not necessarily factual, separating yourself from it, and it's not your identity, and then talking to someone about it and normalizing it, because you go find a mentor and they're gonna be like, yeah, I felt that exact same way.
But I like when you talk about women, because you said for a lot of times you resented other women, you compared yourself to them as opposed to, because a fighter jet doesn't care what your sex is.
Right.
A lot of times you compared yourself and tried to outdo the other women, and then that shifted for you in terms of how you viewed other women. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I think there's this instinct that we have when we're young especially, and we're in some environment that's really competitive, especially when there's very few women. When we see another woman, where we see them as competition immediately. That's our gut reaction.
Yep.
Like, how's she doing? How experienced is she? Does she
I need
fit
to
in
beat
with
her.
the guys?
Yeah.
But I realized as I got to know those people as people, that they turned out to be my best friends. We could relate on just another level, and I'm still friends with so many of them, and so many of them are in the book as just pivotal figures in my journey. So it came with time and experience, and now I often speak to young women, and I'm like, I know there's this temptation to see each other as competition.
Michelle Curran.
Support each other.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we
Cheer each
support
other
you
on.
and support the book. Make sure you get The Flip Side on sale tomorrow.
Chase your dream, live outside your comfort zone.
Absolutely, but that's what I found is the most rewarding.
Well, flying in an F-16 is living outside my comfort zone.
You'll be fine.
And she was. That, of course, was our Nora O'Donnell getting a taste of life as a fighter pilot with Michelle, Mace, Curran, and the Air Force's Thunderbirds display team. Curran, who Nora was talking to there, she flew combat missions in Afghanistan and became only the second woman in history to serve as lead solo pilot for the elite show group. Now she's offering up some life lessons in her new book so we can all benefit. It's called The Flipside: How to Invert Your Perspective and Turn Fear into Your Superpower. Michelle Curran, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Or should I call you Mace?
Up to you. Your choice.
What's it like looking at that clip where you were with Norah O'Donnell and everything you've lived through to now and writing your book?
That is a wild throwback. That was 6 years ago. I was a baby Thunderbird pilot, we'll say. First season, very nervous, had never done a major media interview before, and poor Nora had to like pull everything out of me. I was just like, yes, no. And I'm a little bit more practiced in that now, and now I'm doing this type of thing for a living, so it's kind of wild to throw back to that point.
You were charming.
Yeah, certainly.
So, I can imagine someone hearing about this segment and thinking like, all right, well, she's a fighter pilot. What is she going to have? How can her story help me?
Yeah.
But I actually think there's a lot of practical tips. You've got the one about wiggling your toes in the cockpit. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it sounds silly, right? Flying a $30 million airplane, air shows, combat situations are like, why are we talking about our toes? So air refueling in the aircraft. Think two airplanes touching each other.
I think that is the coolest thing in the world.
It's pretty wild, and it's great for us.
And there's like a hose with fuel that goes from one plane to the other, right?
The boom, exactly. And it plugs in behind your head. And in the F-16, we have to drive up really steady, super slow, get connected, and it's so stressful. And when you're learning, we all get really stressed, and you over-control the jet, and you're all over the place. And an instructor told me, try wiggling your toes. I was like, that sounds dumb.
Yeah.
So I tried it, and it was magical.
Really?
I'm wiggling my toes right now.
What is it,
Right?
Down.
No one can tell. It's like taking a pause, taking a breath, like grounding yourself, recentering, a reset, but it's super quick, no one can see it, and it's this physical disruptor of like that high stimulated stress that we get into when we're like trying real hard to do something, and it gave me like the perfect level of focus, and it's just a magical tool.
That's such good advice for stressful situations. So how did you even get into this? Because you weren't really exposed to this type of thing growing up.
No, rural Wisconsin, not a military or an aviation family. Went to college as a criminal justice major.
No.
Wanted to be an FBI agent.
You would have been a good FBI agent too.
I think I could have kicked down some doors. I don't know.
Yeah.
But halfway through college, I got to see two fighter jets take off, full afterburner, up close. Jet noise vibrates your whole body, got goosebumps, and I was just like, wow, I have to try to go do that. Like, forget the FBI, that looks awesome. And pursued it and ended up being pretty good at it, and the rest
Pretty
is
good,
history.
yeah, I'll say. Although your nickname, your call sign, MACE stands for, you were telling me earlier, mock at circle entry.
Yes.
Pilot jargon.
Yes.
But this is other pilots basically making fun of you as a young pilot, right?
Totally,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's how you get the call sign?
Yeah. They sound cool. People tend to think we get to pick these awesome names, Maverick, Goose. No, it's based on some mistake that you made most of the time.
I love that.
Really?
It's I won't call it hazing. It's a rite of passage.
Yeah.
And mine was based on accidentally going supersonic above the speed of sound, aka the Mach, during a dogfight training flight. Jet had a ton of energy. I pulled 9 times the force of gravity for too long, almost passed out. It was actually really scary and not fun at all.
Yeah.
But luckily, the call sign sounds cool.
But so now
It sounds so cool.
You like roller coasters. That's
yes.
your like risk tolerance right now. Are you like the person on the roller coaster who doesn't scream because you're like, this is nothing? I've been in an F-16.
For whatever reason, I just can't stop laughing on roller coasters. I think it's because I have no responsibility.
Yeah.
And it's just pure fun.
Exactly.
And flying is very exciting, but there's a lot of responsibility associated with it. So you don't get to just like giggle the whole time in the cockpit,
No.
unfortunately.
So you write about something that a lot of successful people, talk about, which is imposter syndrome. How did that affect you?
Early in my career, it almost took me out of the fight. I almost walked away from it because I felt so unqualified, under a microscope, like I didn't deserve to be there, even though I was performing fine. But in my mind, this normal struggle that comes with doing something really difficult and the learning period that happens at the beginning where you're making mistakes all the time, I had never really experienced it at that level before. And so it shook my identity. And I didn't want to tell anyone that I was feeling that way because it felt like a sign of weakness, which would just reinforce this idea that I wasn't tough enough to survive in this world. And so now I talk about it all the time because I want people to realize how normal it is. And that if you can recognize it for what it is, normalize it, and then talk to someone about it, it will really shed this light on it. And then it kind of takes away its power once you get it out of your head and you stop spiraling.
Well, there's a lot of power and insight in this book. Congratulations on it. I also love the helmet there, by the way. I'm going to get one for the New York City subway. I think it,
perfect.
It
Fit right
says it's safety first, but also it's like, don't mess with me, all right?
Yeah, exactly what you need on the subway.
Michelle Curran, thank you very much. The book is The Flipside. It goes on sale tomorrow.